you have like kids coming to schools that if they know they got to be there for 3 years before they can enter the draft, there's a strong possibility that you can build a strong culture with those student athletes.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Throwdown Thursday edition, in segment one, we are going to talk about a recent study done by AD Advisors and Tomac Partners entitled Portal Pushdown, the trend no one wants to talk about. And we've got a special guest to help us out with that. In segment two, we're going to talk about the retirement of the jerseys at Colorado, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Too much too soon? We'll talk about that. And in segment three, GM versus AD. We are intertwining a lot of things in college football and basketball. And I have a special guest to help us navigate all of that with us today, Ryan McHenry, former college player at Hood College. I recruited Ryan. And also the HR consultant for the CKA Save Project. Yes, we work with smart people all the time. Ryan, man, I'm going to try not to cry. It is good to see you. How are you, sir?
It's always good to see you, Coach. I'm doing good on this Easter Sunday, man. It's a blessing to get up and be able to see another day, but it's a blessing to be here with you, Coach. You know, especially with our history. So.
All right. So now let's jump into it. So portal pushdown, the trend no one talks about, was a recent study released last week by AD Advisors and Tomac Partners. And it basically said that each university should create a human resources department to enhance retention and also enhance relationships. So could HR really help to address the disorganization in terms of NIL and the transfer portal? This study was done, and according to the study, it's based on the current climate in men's college basketball. And what they basically are saying is most players, up to 70% who enter the portal, end up going to a school lower than the tier they got recruited to. So here's a breakdown. According to the study, AD Advisors broke college basketball down into four tiers. Tier one consisted of programs that spent at least $4.2 million on basketball and maintain a top 30 ranking according to KenPom over the past 7 seasons. Tier two included mostly non-power conference programs. Tier three includes the bulk of D1 programs outside of those leagues. And per the study, which addresses all transfers within the sport from 2019 through today, only 30% of tier one players who entered the portal stayed in tier one. So that's a high major to high major transfer. The other 70% of those athletes either moved down to a lower tier or failed to find a new home. So basically, what an HR department would do would be to help schools retain talent and also explain the challenges attached to the portal for those who might consider a move according to the study. We all know NIL is a game changer, and it takes time to build a culture. And that's just not being done right now. And in recent years, multiple schools have hired general managers to help them navigate all of this landscape. And maybe HR would be a better job. So, in terms of the portal, the group also studied the impact of the portal in college football and shows that most players aren't entering the portal and signing with schools that have more NIL cash than them. And this information could help players make better decisions in terms of their lives, not only in college, but after college. Ryan, when this came across my desk, you're the first person I talked to. And I said, man, I need to get you on and share your thoughts. So basically, in your own words, what are your thoughts to this study as both a former college student athlete and now someone in the HR field? Does this even make sense?
Off of first read, being a college athlete and now working in this industry, in pure honesty, is a very interesting study, but I would have to think, creating a human resource department within college athletics is not only unnecessary, but I think it's a misstep that misunderstands the core of what makes athletic programs successful. Student athletes are not a corporate are not corporate employees, and treating them as such is a risk and damaging to a very culture and relationship that drives performance and team cohesion. Athletics departments already have an infrastructure already in place. They have the coaches, they have the academic advisors, they have player development personnel, compliance teams, mental health counselors. They have those resources already in place. So and these professionals are trained to meet the real needs of student athletes. So like adding an HR department simply just duplicates those services. And I think it's a waste of resources. I think it adds another layer of bureaucracy that slows decision making and confuses accountability. Um, when I think of HR, I think it's transactional and reactive. In this article, it kind of makes it seem like we're relational. I think the relational aspect comes from the leadership, the coaches. That's where the culture is ultimately built. So, like HR, like when I think of departments, it's designed to protect those institutions, not nurture student athletes. So turning HR to solve problems of retention or culture is honestly a shortcut solution that will ultimately undermine the coach athlete relationship, erode trust, and damage the authentic bonds that building lasting team culture. Like when I think about my college days, I think about where were my relationships. My relationships were with you, coach. They were with my assistant coaches. Even though, like I look back on my journey, I left the program because of my head coach, but the relationship that I had with you, coach, it lasted a lifetime. So like when I think about the transfer portal, NIL, and the challenging they're challenging, but the answer isn't stuff sports into a corporate framework. It's to invest more deeply in leadership, mentorship, and clarity. Like strong programs aren't built through policy and red tape. They're built through honest conversations, consistent coaching, and creating an environment of athletes that the athletes want to stay. So instead of pouring time and money into building an HR office that athletes may distrust or ignore, universities should double down on real solutions. Like I said, stronger coaching, smarter NIL education, better player development. Again, I don't think an HR will solve the portal problems. I think a strong program will. Uh, like and I thought it was interesting in the study in the article when they brought in the college football versus college basketball and how you see more student athletes jumping into the portal from college basketball than college football. And I think, honestly and truly, when I think about the one and done, I think that plays a part in this. Like when you're talking about culture, if your school has a culture of one and done, great. That's the culture that you guys have there. But when I think about football, like the minimum in order to get to the draft, you have to play in college for at least 3 years. So in the study, it takes 3 to 5 years to build a strong culture. You have like kids coming to schools that if they know they got to be there for 3 years before they can enter the draft, there's a strong possibility that you can build a strong culture with those student athletes. If you have students coming in saying, "Oh, I only got to play 1 year and then I'm in the draft," how is that enough time to even build the culture that you're trying to, foster at that program? So I think one and done plays a part in it. And I think the what you already have in place and how you onboard those student athletes is important. Like I said, if you're coming there and you know you're going to be there for 3 to 4 years before you even enter the draft, the likelihood of me committing to that culture is high versus if I know that I'm coming for 1 year. I'm just honestly there to, get there, play my hardest and get to the league. Like I said, and then you also have to think about kids that are coming to those programs to play with those one and dones. Once those one and dones are gone and the odds of us getting a natty diminishes. It's like, all right, I gotta get out of here and go to a different school so I can play with top prospects. So
Yeah, a lot of my friends who are in the business are junior college coaches, and they don't feel bad for these D1 programs at all because this is what they have to do every single year. So your perspective is very unique. And man, I think that's spot on. Any final thoughts before we move to segment two?
No, I think I kind of, touched on everything that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, I think there's still a lot, that we're seeing with these programs and what they already have in place and what they're trying to create. I think it's the student athletes' time. I think they hold the control, and universities and institutions have taken advantage of college athletes for quite some time, and now that the roles are reversed, we're over here trying to solve problems because of, hey, I hate to say it, problems that these universities and institutions put in place. So I'm not mad at student athletes. If they want to test the portal, and I get it, 70%, I think it's an education thing. If student athletes understood a little bit more about the portal and were more educated, um, we may not see, a lot of athletes, those 70% going down a tier. It's
Okay.
it's it's just a matter of that an education piece, and these institutions just got to pour more money into what they already have.
All right. So, fans, in segment two, we're going to talk Colorado and Jersey retirements. Can't wait to hear Ryan's thoughts on that. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA Safe Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student athlete success. I believe every student athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.casafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast in segment two. Let me just get this out of the way. It's not that, it's when. That's how we'll start off this segment. The Colorado Buffaloes ruffled some feathers of some past players and graduates when they announced that Travis Hunter's number 12 jersey and Shedeur Sanders' number 2 jerseys would be retired before the spring game. They are only the fifth and sixth players in Colorado's 135-year history to receive the honor. Their careers just ended, so some people had a problem with the quick turnaround. Deion Sanders, head coach of Colorado, defended the retirement jerseys when he said, "We're talking about Shedeur. We ain't talking about nobody else. If his last name wasn't Sanders, we wouldn't have the discussion." So Colorado was irrelevant. And now they're relevant in part because Travis Hunter, great player, two-way player, doing historical things, and Shedeur uh, had a very good career at Colorado, brought a lot of attention. But man, Hunter and Sanders joined the company of quarterback, halfback Brian White, guard, linebacker Joe Roman, quarterback, tailback Bobby Anderson, and the late Rashawn Salam. So Cordell's not even retired, sir. Cordell Stewart, for those who know. So Ryan, What are your thoughts on Colorado retiring these players' jerseys at this time?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's not if, it's when. I think it's man, I'm honestly and truly I'm a big fan of Dion and the program that he's brought to Colorado. I think it's transformed college football. It's man, I hate to say it. I think they should have waited. I think they should have waited.
Westbrook didn't even get his jersey retired.
I'm looking at the Tebow situation. It took some time for Tebow. So I'm like, for me, it's just like, should they have got their jerseys retired? Yes. Right now, no, they haven't even been drafted. They have not even been drafted. You got to wait some time. And even when I think about jersey retirement in like the NBA or NFL, it's some time after people's career before they retire a jersey.
Uh,
And it's what they did in their post, also in their post career, along with what they did in their career. So I think they're great players. I think they're phenomenal talents. And yes, they did change the culture over in Colorado. They are, athletes that have transcended that program, and they're the ones that were the founders of that culture, of that winning culture. I'm just looking at the pre before they even got there, what their records were, and we're
they
even
didn't win anything, man.
yeah,
Again, I'm,
it's
you know how coach is, man. Can you give me 5 years? Even we had to wait to get into the Hood College Hall of Fame.
like I said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Like you just don't do that before they get drafted. Like wait till they get drafted, kind of see what they do in the league for a little bit, and then come back for a retirement, a jersey retirement ceremony.
And I don't know if Dion's going to be there long term either. I would have paused. I would have surveyed Cordell Stewart, Michael Westbrook. These guys have done something in Colorado lore. They went from 1 to 4 to 8 to 10 or something like that, which is great, great job. But hey, now
It's they knew criticism was going to come. They knew they were going to be criticized
and the
for
AD, come on, man, you got to be an AD right now and say, you know what? I don't think we're gonna do that right now. So the AD is just as bad as the coaching staff in terms of what are you doing? So, all right, with that, we're going to come back in segment 3 and talk about the GM position versus the AD position. And two schools took different directions. And I got my HR guy here. I can't wait to hear his thoughts. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CK Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Eye Coaches podcast. In segment three, we're going to talk GM versus AD. Stanford football's former Stanford football coach Troy Taylor denied any wrongdoing and claimed the university fired him without cause in his first statement since being terminated by general manager Andrew Luck last month. And Stanford apparently paid him every dollar to leave. So Taylor was fired following an ESPN report revealing a pair of investigations into mistreatment of female staffers, both of which took place before the 2024 season. And according to the reports, Luck was aware of the investigations when he took over as general manager early this year. The Cardinal posted 3-9 consecutive 3-9 seasons under Taylor, whose removal was first known instance of a general manager in terms of Andrew Luck making the decision to fire a coach instead of an athletic director, which takes us to Florida basketball. The head coach of the national champion Florida Gators, 39-year-old Todd Golden, earlier this season was the subject of a Title IX investigation into his behavior after accusations of sexual harassment, sexual exploitation, and wait for it, stalking. Florida's Title IX office adjudicated the case in January after a months-long investigation, saying it found, quote, no evidence that he violated Title IX. However, while the probe did not turn up chargeable offenses, it also did not completely exonerate Coach Golden. Its findings instead eliminated a narrow scope of the allegations related to Title IX, which was behavior perpetrated within a university program or activity, which raises the possibility that the coach of Florida, who just won the national championship in basketball, may be met with new scrutiny as things move forward. So here's what he said, Ryan. He released a statement saying he was participating in the investigation and also considered a defamation claim, but did not comment any further, citing confidentiality laws and urging for patience as the process played out. Of course, you know they won the national championship, and winning does a lot of things. But there's another Title IX inquiry. While his Title IX investigation was still open this season, a separate Title IX inquiry was open into Florida assistant coach and former Gator star Torrin Green. And we're curious to see how that one ends, because you know, historically speaking, assistant coaches do this thing called fall on the sword. Ryan, I put this on your desk with your area of expertise. What are your thoughts on the contrasting moves between how Stanford did business and how Florida did business?
Well, Stanford did, but like Andrew Luck, I mean, he's creating a culture, and it's a no nonsense culture. So I don't blame him for coming in and laying down the hammer. But if, coming from HR, the HR industry, all I can say is maybe they need to implement an HR system for themselves. Not for student athletes, but for the program itself. Because honestly, you're right. Winning masks a lot of things. You win, a lot of people just kind of don't see anything. And Florida did that. Um, so honestly and truly, I understand what Luck did, and he laid the hammer, set the tone, and Florida does what Florida does. I mean, just think about everything that the University of Florida football players got away with. Like we're talking um, Andrew Hernandez and the things that he did. So winning masks a lot of things, especially in Florida. Stanford is
Uh,
a prestigious institution, not to say Florida isn't. But they have standards, and when Andrew Luck came in as an alumni, as an ex-NFL player, like he had to set the tone, and that's what he was called upon, and he did his job. I think Florida needs to take a lesson, and I think Florida needs an HR system down there. They need an HR department.
All right. So my question to you is Florida, the AD kind of did whatever, but Luck is the general manager of the football team, and the AD gave him that power in terms of making that decision. What are your thoughts on just that role as GM in terms of a college football team having that type of clout? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, look at what a GM's job is. I mean, they're a hands-on manager. They work day to day to build rosters, handle like the modern challenges like NIL and transfer portal. Like they're sitting there seeing they're the boots on the ground. So if I'm gonna look at the boots on the ground to make those decisions, then ultimately like give them the power. And Andrew Luck understands football. He understands the system and understands, culture. I mean, when you're
Uh,
part of a winning culture, you understand that and you understand that there are decisions to be made. And I think the AD, because of Andrew Luck's background and everything that comes with it, I mean, why not give him the power?
Yeah. So for us at CKA, we are developing a postgraduate academy. We are using Ryan's expertise to help us do that. So here are some tips for college basketball, men's and women's, and football GMs. One, develop strong interpersonal skills. Two, you've got to be versatile. Three, you got to understand the new college landscape. So you have to be familiar with NCAA rules and university policies. You've got to manage your resources effectively. You got to KYP. You got to know your players. You got to know your personnel. You got to build relationships across campus, across campus, okay, down to anybody who works in the buildings. You have to be adaptable. And one of the things that Ryan mentioned, you got to prioritize trust. So, in terms of what we're looking for in a GM for our programs, we want somebody with a diverse background who's done a little bit of everything. Uh, Relationships matter, communication skills. We want to be clear communicators. Looking for somebody with some college experience because it's a new world out there. And being a post grad, you're getting them ready for this new world that they living in. Be able to manage resources, build that trust, be great problem solvers. And we're big on the holistic piece at CKA. Our mission is to support student athletes in their overall development, both on and off the court. Ryan, did I get it right as we start our process? Any thoughts as we wrap up?
Nah, you hit the nail on the head. That's the job description. That's the job
It's a
description.
lot.
It's a lot, and you gotta be relationship focused as a GM. I mean, like I said before, you're the boots on the ground. You're the one doing the day to day. Working with these athletes. So you hit the nail on the head, coach.
All right. So on behalf of my favorite big man right here, Ryan McHenry, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.